The prolepsis is mostly engineered by a massive, real events, experiences, and sentiments from Spain to the Philippines. El Filibusterismo was written from the wings of Bismarck and Vera Zakulik, Yankee manipulations and Cuban insurrections, Meiji Japan and British Museum, Catalonia and the Carolinua, nihilist and anarchist, all had their places including Kuchers and homeopathicists. In the late 1945, 2 months after Japanese occupation collapsed when Dutch colonialism returned in force, young first Prime Minister Sultan Shahir described his revolutions as gilisa, that gives the feel of El Filibusterismo, covering anxious, trembling, and expectant. Something is coming. If we are to take into account Elias and Ibarra's perspective of a revolution, they were hesitant at first. Coming of different backgrounds of two, had major disparity in their belief. Elias and Ibarra wanted reformation, and for the Filipinos to be recognized by the government of Spain for the rights between the Spaniards and the Filipinos was usually favored by the Spaniards, especially to the friars. During that time, this was one of Rizal's major points on his book on what he emphasized and tried to push forth. As a message to the people and the government, the injustice was rampant and discrimination was prevalent, and Rizal wanted for the Filipinos to open their eyes on the matter. However, on the latter part of the story, they, Ibarra and Elias, have shifted their views, and from their wishes of reformation become desire for revolution. This desire became one of the themes of Rizal's El Filibusterismo. However, Simón wasn't the real perspective that Rizal wanted to highlight. Simón was the idea of the revolution, including the pursuit for redemption of Maria Clara. But it wasn't what Rizal intended for his real perspective on the matter. Came from Father Florentino. The word filibustero is still not known within the Philippines, as Rizal states that it was when he was 11 years old when he listened around that wording. It is illegal to express that word since the Spaniards related that term as somebody whom they suspected of revolutionary activities. They are anxious of saying it since they will before long be hung by the Spanish government. As Anderson proposed that the word filibustero floated from the Cuba to Spain and over the Indian Sea to Manila. It is most likely that the word traveled to Manila of high-ranking military officers who had served within the Caribbean sometime recently, being doled out to the Philippines. Amid the Cavite Revolt when the 10 Years' War, for those of you who does not know, it is the primary large-scale war for Cuban autonomy that had sieged for over 3 years. The word filibustero that Izquierdo had learned within the Caribbean resonated in this intellect, and he utilized it to comprehend the occasions of 1872. This sea-born ancestry as a sea optic that gives a system and setting for understanding Rizal and filibusterismo within the late 19th century, particularly as refracted within the early seafarers were known within the English-speaking world as Manila men, since the Philippines as a nation-state did not exist. And in spite of the fact that not each vagrant was Tagalog or a local of Manila, most of these laborers distinguished the colonial capital as their beginning, conveying it in discussions with outsiders. Manila was a put title that not at all like Las Islas Filipinas was recognizable in colonial ports and within the world's cities. Manila was a worldwide brand title, connected to tobacco from the Ilocos, thus Manila cigar, and abaca from Bicol, thus Manila hemp and Manila paper. Given this numerous-sided history, it is likely that the word filibustero, in all its uncertainty, it must have come to the shores of Manila earlier to the Cavite Revolt. One conceivable channel seems to have a few from the Spanish department in Shanghai, which would have sent private reports to both Manila and the Madrid of Indios, including in filibustering. And undoubtedly such word